Hello, welcome back. I'm Catzilla, and this is where I talk about horror and all things horrifying to save for my friends from my constant info dumping. So remember that one watch equals one free friend. Think of the children, people. Apologies for the sound of my fan. It's fucking 30 degrees in the UK, so bear with me. Today I'm going to be talking about things that are far too scary by far. I'm going to talk about the tropes, themes, common set pieces in horror movies that really get under my skin and that I find the most disturbing, the hardest to watch, which is kind of the highest honor you can bestow a scene as a horror fan. So I'm going to be ranking them from least disturbing, so like things that just give me a little ill, and then to most disturbing, which are the things I genuinely will struggle to watch, or if I have seen them before, those are the movies that I'm never watching again. Although I'm very much a believer in, like, myself, I don't always go to a horror movie looking to be scared. I'm there to appreciate the artistry and like the storytelling. I think horror is the perfect platform for telling a story that I will always want to listen to. I'm looking more to have fun with the movie than anything else. I do feel like a sort of canon event as a hardcore horror fan is constantly searching for that thrill, that high, that thing that genuinely scares you and rocks your worldview when you feel like you've kind of seen it all. So let's go through it together. So as a disclaimer, there are certain topics that I find hard to watch, hard to read, whatever, hard to stomach in horror that I won't be discussing here. And those are the things that I find like are genuinely egregious and uncomfortable to the point where like it's not fun anymore. It's just violently upsetting. Those things are graphic depictions of non-consensual sex, excessive trauma porn where it's relentless scenes that are exploiting marginalized communities' struggles for shock value, and also animals getting hurt, especially if those animals, you know, were actually hurt in the filming. I'm looking at you, Miss Cannibal Holocaust. So yeah, if you're like me and you just don't care for those things at all, here is your peace of mind that those are not going to come up. Everything else I will cover, we'll have a little title card, and I will try and timestamp everything so that you can kind of skip around this as you need. Now, let's get into it! Number one is a category I've titled Gives Me Just a Little Shiver, and that spot goes to the trope of blink and you'll miss it, or background horror. We're starting off small here, guys. We're starting off just a little shiver. And what I mean by blink and you'll miss it is when in horror movies they have subtle, spooky little details that are just kind of planted in the background of a shot or sprinkled throughout without the movie explicitly drawing your attention to it. It'll either like take you a hot minute to spot the scary thing in the scene, or you will miss it altogether and you'll only pick it up on a second rewatch. So when you do, it's when you see it you'll shit bricks type vibes. It puts you on high alert and makes you super paranoid, in my opinion. I feel like one of the most famous examples, you can already hear it coming out of my mouth, it's Ari Aster's Hereditary. This is full of background horror. There's several parts of Hereditary. Spoilers incoming for hit movie Hereditary. So there's obviously the ceiling scene where Toni Collette's character, she has inhaled the demon and now she is creeping and crawling around her family's house unbeknownst to her son. The shot is focused on her son, Alex Wolff, while she is up in the shadows in the background, so you can really only notice her if you like squint. That's the main bad boy of the movie. But we do learn at the end, throughout the entire movie, the family that we follow throughout the film has been closely surveilled by a cult devoted to the demon payment. So there are so many shots in the movie where you can see background cult members just kind of lurking around in the background, like around their house, in corners of rooms. If it's like your second or third watch and you look it in the background, you will notice some creepy little fuckers. My personal favorite, blink and you'll miss it type scene from Hereditary, as in the one that scared me the most personally, is the scene where we see Ellen who is Annie's dead mother, just kind of vibing in the corner of Annie's attic. And it's in really low lighting. This one is obviously like much harder to miss. It's less like blink and you'll miss it, but more so like it will take you a hot minute to process what you are seeing, to process that that is her, that she is smiling creepily. If it gets brighter or draws attention to itself or anything, it's just there for one shot, just barely visible, but there. I feel like it perfectly replicates the vibe of like when you're in your room at night and you see a jacket on a chair and you're trying to work out whether it's a ghoul or a jacket on a chair, which also the film also has a scare based around that exact experience. Obviously Mike Flanagan's Haunting of Hill House, the Netflix show, kind of that whole show hinges on there being little hidden secret ghosts scattered in the background of shots throughout the show, which can be quite chilling if you spot one, especially if you're like me, didn't know that that was a thing, didn't know that Mike Flanagan had done that, and just kept being like, is that a guy? I think there is in the Bly Manor show as well. I'm not sure. I didn't really care for that show too much. But my favorite blink and you'll miss it type vibe scene from Mr. Flanagan comes in the 2017 adaptation of Gerald's Game, and that is the part where you see the Moonlight Man, or the Space Cowboy as he's called in the book, lurking in the corner of the bedroom where the whole movie takes place. Throughout the movie we keep being shown shots of this one specific corner where the Space Cowboy is eventually going to show up. You've already built up so much dread that like one of these shots coming up, there's gonna be something there, and then when he appears you can like for a minute you can only just make out that he's there, but you're already so paranoid, you're like, is there something there? And there sure is. And it's this fucking guy. In general, this is a very common trope in movies about paranoia, or the aim to build up a sense of paranoia in the audience. There's Joel Anderson's Lake Mungo, for example, where there's a plot point of one of the characters. He is actually faking ghost sightings and snapshots and stuff that show his dead sister's ghost in the background of them. He's making that up. But it is revealed at the end of the movie that that plot point in itself was kind of a red herring, because there actually has been tiny little real ghost sightings in the background of other shots that our attention has not been drawn to in the movie the whole time. So it's kind of like a double fake out, blink and you'll miss it type thing. There's Elliot Goldner's The Borderlands, an underrated fave of mine, and that is found footage, so it plays a lot with the ideas of like characters thinking they're seeing things while they're walking through the Devon countryside or exploring this creepy haunted church. I love this specific part where we're seeing from the point of view of one of the characters, Deacon. He is heading up to said haunted church at night through the woods, and he keeps getting teeny tiny little glimpses between branches, teeny tiny little shots of Father Krellick, who is the church's vicar, who we literally just saw commit suicide a couple scenes ago. It's something you see a lot more in modern horror, with the rise of like subtlety and everything has to be so fucking understated. Of course, the fear of something scary happening right under your nose and you not even noticing it has been around forever, and lots of older pieces of horror media play with it, like BBC's Ghostwatch. It's a Halloween special mockumentary from 1992. It's presented as a plain old documentary. So I think just slipping the ghost sightings into the background, slipping our little friend Pipes the ghost in this special, it works even more effectively, and really adds to the vibe of like making it real seem real as possible. Spot number 2 is called Gives Me a Big Shiver. So this isn't a little shiver me timbers, this is a shiver me fucking body, soul and mind. It goes to mimicry. What I mean by mimicry is things that are not human pretending to look, act, sound like a human being, oftentimes getting it just a little bit wrong, which really just adds in a whole uncanny layer to it. It makes definite psychological sense why I and so many other people are scared of villains that mimic. You know, the idea of something trying to lure you in or infiltrate you, trying to lull you into that false sense of security, and being able to see through it is just like it triggers your fight or flight. And historically, in folklore, mimics and doppelgangers, they are a big scary deal. Doppelgangers specifically come from German folklore, and they are meant to be like a terrible omen, a harbinger of death if you ever see someone who looks just like you. There's a lot of early horror literature centered around fear of doppelgangers. For example, Dostoevsky's The Double, 1846, and Poe's William Wilson, 1839. There's also the very famous story of Percy Bysshe Shelley, the poet, meeting his own doppelganger right before he died in real life. It said that the doppelganger came up to him and asked him, "How long do you mean to be content?" So yeah, this comes up a lot in horror movies. Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Thing are both classics. Come to mind about non-human things pretending to be human, aiming to take over humans. Or dogs. Dogs are not safe. And there is that quintessential yuckiness of like, oh god, this thing is wearing human skin in order to get me. But I think the biggest one for pure mimicry ick is Alex Garland's Annihilation, based on Jeff Vandermeer's 2014 novel. Honestly, I'm not a fan in general of Alex Garland, and this film even, I'm like, I could take it or leave it, but there are some specific elements and specific scenes that are genuinely gutturally scary. So it takes place in this strange hallucinatory sort of other dimension called the Shimmer, where the movie's main characters, this group of women who are scientists, are doing an expedition. The laws of nature work differently in the Shimmer. There's all sorts of beasties lurking around in there, including this mutated bear that mimics one of the scientists that died earlier in the film. But it's kind of less like mimicry and more that her soul like refracted into the bear, like her dying moments are now forever trapped and like playing out of the bear. But either way, the bear creature is trying to replicate the sound of human cries, and it sounds terrible. It sounds really discordant and odd and gross. The film also does just feature like straight up archetypal doppelgangers. There's this pretty lengthy sequence at the end of the film, and this is the one I find the scariest, where it's like a doppelganger creature is kind of studying and copying the main character Lena's movements in order to try and like mold into a doppelganger of her. Honestly, just the sight of this shiny fucker mirroring her every move horrifies me. It just feels deeply wrong, and I hate this scene in a good way. It's really scary. Major spoiler alert, but it ends with Lena supposedly making it out of the Shimmer, only for it to be revealed that her and her husband, he was also in the Shimmer at one point. It's a long story. Both of those guys are actually their doppelgangers. They've been replaced by their respective shiny fuckers. Another moment that I think of when it comes to mimicry horror is Rob Savage's The Boogeyman, 2023, which again, the movie, it's fine, it's generally fine, but it's this very one specific moment that spooks me and really taps into this type of thing. So there's a scene where the titular boogeyman is hiding in the closet unbeknownst to the characters of Sadie and Sawyer. Sadie is in bed with her little sister Sawyer singing her a lullaby. After the both girls are asleep, we hear the boogeyman in the closet very quietly working on replicating the sound of Sadie's singing voice. It's like perfecting its impression, but again, it doesn't get it quite right straight away. It sounds very sort of alien and screechy and strange. Distorted voices and such are honestly, they could have been ranked in this list alone. So that paired with mimicry is like meow, you know? And I couldn't really talk about doppelgangers without talking about Alex Kister's internet series, the Mandela Catalog. The entire thing hinges on the idea of evil, distorted, slightly wrong doppelgangers or alternates of human beings just walking among us. It even goes into a whole biblical creation-y thing where it's taking place in a universe where Satan exists and overthrew God by doppelganging the angel Gabriel. And yeah, there are countless pieces of horror media that do creepy things with doppelgangers. Jordan Peele's Us 2018, it takes an apocalyptic kind of look at doppelgangers, where everyone has a doppelganger and those doppelgangers are aiming to replace all of us. It is a theme that's very present in Twin Peaks, the TV show, and it's also the main plot of a super underrated favorite movie of mine, Cam. Okay, spot number 3. This is titled, It's Getting to Me a Little Bit, but it won't stick with me. This goes to medical horror or depictions of illness, kind of symptoms. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm not talking about being horrified by grotesque depictions of like disabled, ill people. I'm not talking about Zelda from Pet Sematary or any number of the spooky, stigmatizing, evilified depictions of epilepsy and seizures. No, that's a whole rant for a whole nother video. I'm talking visceral depictions of being very ill, throwing up, going pale, getting super sweaty and feverish. Generally how it feels to have the flu, but ramped up to horror movie levels. I personally am terrified of getting sick. I had a really awful, scary illness experience back at the end of 2023, and ever since then it's become such a squick of mine in horror movies. I start getting like sympathetic symptoms. It makes me feel so gross, and it's so tough for me to watch. Now, this occasionally can pop up in zombie movies when the movie is really heavy on kind of like the body horror aspects, or like gives a lot of time to like the early stages of zombie virus infection. Like Eric England's 2013 movie Contracted is technically a zombie movie, and in general zombie movies don't do very much for me, but this film specifically just like spends so much time hammering home just how poorly the lead character is while she's zombifying. We're talking vomiting, bloodshot eyes, rashes all over her body, peeing blood, all that stuff that you can just feel. She also has got a bunch of maggots in her hoo-ha, which I luckily do not know how that feels. Is also kind of part of the whole STD commentary of the movie. It all just makes me want to go check my temperature. There's also obviously Eli Roth's Cabin Fever 2002. It's a comedy horror about a group of youngsters on vacation who all contract a flesh-eating disease, kind of like necrotizing fasciitis vibes. New aesthetic. Eli Roth actually based this movie on something that happened to him when he was 19, where he got this super bad skin infection all over his face out of nowhere. And one time he remembers while having the infection, he was shaving and just chunks of skin were falling off, which, sorry, you are learning so much about my medical history today, but I also had a very nasty allergic skin thing in 2023, my best year for sure. So this stuff gets to me. There's more icky skin stuff as well, goo and rashes and all in Infection 2004. Brandon Cronenberg's 2012 movie Antiviral is about a clinic where people can inject, horrible start already, but people can inject themselves with ill celebrities' pathogens so that they can kind of like feel closer in their parasocial relationship with them. It's kind of like a cute fangirl thing. That brings both the severe sickness depictions and the medical, clinical, sterile hospital vibes. It really delivers on those in a way that just makes me feel very anxious. It's got mouth bleeding, fevers, excellent body horror as to be expected from Cronenberg Jr. or Sr. Needles, as I mentioned, and just general sickly dying. I seem to also remember there is some pretty nasty scenes in Incantation 2022, a great movie, where the lead character's little girl gets super sick as the result of a curse, and that is pretty visceral and awful to watch. To be honest, I'm realizing as I cover this, as I explore this, just how much of a me problem this is. So many movies that are not scary because of illness elements are scary to me because of illness elements. Honestly, the scariest part of Eraserhead 1978 for me is when the little Eraserhead baby gets all sick and feverish and gross, or even when Jack and Nance's wife gets really ill and she's tossing and turning and sweating and teeth chattering in bed. That stuff is so visceral for me. Even the Ripley virus in Dreamcatcher 2002. I'm constantly saying the year for this movie wrong. In Dreamcatcher, Lawrence Kasdan's Dreamcatcher, before it develops into poo aliens, because yes, this movie is about a virus that makes you poo out aliens. Even that, the early stages of the virus in that movie are very frightening to me. Spot number 4 is called I'll be averting my gaze. And this spot goes to bugs. I'm one of those motherfuckers that thinks like beetles and spiders and centipedes and stuff look so cute on jewelry and tattoos and stuff, but in real life I'm like, ah. And that fear does extend to watching them in horror movies. It makes me feel itchy, it makes me feel dirty, it makes me feel paranoid that there are bugs physically on me, that they've crawled out at the screen and come to hang out with me IRL. It's the movie equivalent to sleeping in crummy bed sheets. The main elements of like insect horror, or the main instances of insect horror that really get to me are when it's like a huge, just impossibly large horde of insects that are physically overwhelming a character in the movie. It's super iconic and super freaky and super loved by me example is the Creeping Up on You segment of Creepshow 1982. I love this segment so much, and it's so disgusting. For such a goofy, silly, funny movie, there's so many things throughout that are genuinely quite disturbing, and this segment is definitely one of them. It shows this asshole businessman who is incredibly germophobic. He's very scared of getting sick, bugs, anything like that. So he lives in this like super sterile, like specially sealed off apartment. But then slowly, inexplicably, cockroaches just start popping up around his very clean apartment, many of which are in his food, like in his cereal or in his food processor, which is like a whole ick in itself. Bugs in food. Eventually he is overrun by these cockroaches, and now his special sealed off environment is working against him because he is stuck in there with all his little creepy crawly friends. Bug 2006 also plays with the idea of like bug infestations and paranoia and the craziness that is found in trying to get rid of them. The lead in the movie is convinced that her motel room is infested with bugs as a result of like a psychosis spiral she is currently going through. There's even a part where the characters start thinking there's bugs like living in their teeth. Bug 1975, another bug in the Bugverse, features a species of mutant fire-starting cockroaches. They're getting in people's hair, they're getting in people's ears. Squirm 1976 is a movie I wanted to love so bad, but it left me just a little bit cold. Surprisingly, for the reason that there weren't enough worms in this movie, which is about worms. It's a small town that gets infested with worms after they all escape out of a worm farmer's trap. It's got houses full of worms. It's got worms in an egg crane, which is like a fucking milkshake, I think. My personal grossest scene in the movie is where the town is so overrun by worms that one of the characters is trying to turn the shower on. There's no water coming out, so she's looking around. Above her head, little worms coming out of the shower head. In general, bugs are such a classic horror staple, but it works like a charm, I'm telling you. Slugs, the swarm, arachnophobia, phenomena, they're all playing bug games. There's also like a slightly different flavor of the bug horror trope, which is where rather than focusing on like infestations and being surrounded and attacked by lots and lots of bugs, it is very concerned with like the grossness of bugs. Very focused on larvae and gross little wings and goo and stuff. The Fly did it first and did it well. I don't know that it did it first actually, but it did a great job. It did it very well. I'm thinking about Jeff Goldblum's little feelers right now. But I can also remember Bite 2015. I don't remember enough to know that it was good, but I do remember lots of insectile ooze and eggs and vile things that were quite effective in it. Number 5, this category is called I'll be going ew and grisping whoever is next to me. And this one goes to eye trauma. I feel that the title of this category is very accurate, if I do say so myself. Whenever they start fucking with eyes in movies, I am literally going crisps you. The psychology behind this is pretty self-explanatory. It's a very vulnerable area. It's just not very nice to think of horrible things happening to our eyes. When I simply get hay fever and my eyes get kind of red and swollen, I am disgusted and I'm feeling like the diva from opera. Which brings me to my first example, Opera 1987, directed by Dario Argento. So this film features a stalker as its main antagonist who is stalking this opera singer and murdering her loved ones, but his quirk is forcing her to watch by taping needles to the bottom of her eye, so she can't flinch or blink or look away, or she will get blinded. And the whole movie you're waiting for her to finally slip up and for that to happen, for her to just blink, and it never does, and I love that it never does. It makes it so much worse. When I'm watching, I have to keep my eyes open along with her the whole time. I just have to. It is a physically painful viewing experience. Moment of eye horror from my childhood, which is probably where this all started, is Final Destination 5. Obviously, Final Destination movies are all about crazy, creative, uber unfortunate deaths, and the one I'm talking about right now is a laser eye surgery gone wrong. The machine malfunctions so that the laser starts burning into the character's eye while the doctor is out of the room, and her head and eyelids are stuck open for the whole thing. There's a gazillion eye gouging scenes in horror. Off the top of my head, I can think of Demons 1985, Barbarian 2022, Zombie Flesh Eaters 1979 has a particularly brutal one. A character's eye is taken out by having it rammed into a jagged, like, splintery piece of wood sticking out. You'll be kind of like teased with it for a long time, and when it finally happens, you see lots of pulp, squishy eye viscera. Fulci movies in general have lots of eye gore, lots of eye trauma, so if you're for some reason craving that, go check him out. May 2002 is a movie I absolutely adore. I love May, and the lead character is a girl who has a lazy eye that she is super insecure about. And right at the end we see her gouge it out. She's been building a life-sized human body parts doll, don't worry about it, and the doll needed an eye. Logical queen. Brand New Cherry Flavor is a TV show and it is so unbelievably good. I absolutely implore you to watch it. And there is a scene in it where Psychowitz from Victorious, who has been who's had a curse put on him for being an asshole, is itching at his eye and then finally finds what's the issue with his eye and pulls a worm out of it. Truly terrible. Something that somehow feels like a step above attacking the eye directly for me is like attacking the areas around or specifically just below the eyes. I don't know why that feels more visceral. Maybe it's because like that is something I can feasibly like imagine more, and like it won't take your eye out, but like you'll feel it in there and it will probably fuck with your eye. Two excellent scenes I can think of which do exactly this is Evil Dead 2013. We see a deadite stick a hypodermic needle just right below the eye, and also Audition 1999, official best movie in the world, officially confirmed, has a character sticking acupuncture needles right below another character's eyes. Cross my heart and hope to die, guys. Number 6. The category for this one is titled I'm still saying ew, but also feeling some true anxiety in my soul now. So meaning that this is going beyond like knee-jerk repulsion and it is giving me some true genuine dread. And this book goes to drowning stuff or underwater stuff. Incredible title, I know, but I'm sure you get exactly what I mean straight away. Long scenes of characters underwater, and you know they need to breathe any minute now, but they won't and they can't because they're trapped under there in some way. Usually you start involuntarily holding your breath along with them, or at least I do. I love that so many of these movies I'm talking about I don't actually like, or I don't think they're that good, which I think just goes to show, like, stick any one of these tropes in like a bad horror movie and you instantly gave me something to remember. I must talk about the Final Destination's pool scene, or sucked to death as this YouTube clip calls it. It shows this guy looking around for a coin at the bottom of a pool, and he gets sucked in by the pool drain. The drain then eventually slurps out all of his organs through his butt after a long time of suffocating. Yeah, the organs aren't even the stressful part for me, it's the being held underwater part. You can have my organs, but like I would love to breathe. I feel this was most definitely inspired by the story Guts from Chuck Palahniuk's Haunted, which I have right here. It's a book which uses the same concept but like even worse. Has a character purposely placing his butt on a pool drain to pleasure himself. He's it's feeling good, he's jolking it, and then he prolapses while stuck on it. He does manage to escape though after a long time of being held underwater, not being able to breathe. It also starts slurping some organs out, but he simply gets those organs and breaks free. The Legacy 1978 features the archetypal nightmare that everyone's had. Characters are swimming in a pool that has a cover on it, and they get stuck under said cover. Built in Ritacoma Inn, or Let the Right One In, is a 2008 adaptation of a book. Both the book and movie are so precious to me, they mean everything to me. But it has a really nasty pool scene where the lead, Oscar, is being held underwater by one of his bullies. It's for a really long time. It's for too long. These guys are trying to kill him. His vampire GF starts savaging the bullies halfway through to save him. And so the only way he actually gets free is because the hand that's holding his head underwater gets chomped off by his girlfriend. This is less about being stuck underwater and more just straight up drowning, straight up suffocation. But it also comes from Creepshow. It's the Something to Tide You Over segment. It stresses me out in a very specific, unique way. Ted Danson's character is stuck buried in the sand up to his head right at the shore as the tide is coming in. So he's having to hold his breath every time a wave comes in, but obviously the waves are getting more and more frequent. So he is, he's screwed. Number 7, this category is called I'm Wailing Loudly in Pain. This one goes to dental trauma. I would genuinely rather be savaged by a pack of wild rabid wolves than just go to the dentist. So this one, it's pretty easy to see why it does it for me. Scenes of teeth being pulled out or attempted to pull out or just in any way seriously hurt are very I'm very sensitive about those. I know a lot of people are quite affected by scenes of teeth coming loose and just kind of falling out. So like The Fly, The Substance, my favorite book, The Tommyknockers. But for some reason I'm not. Like I've had those nightmares, I've had those scary dreams about all my teeth just saying bye. But no, it doesn't really get to me like violence towards the teeth really does. This one's kind of a funny one because there are a lot of life-ruining, sanity-collapsing scenes of dental trauma that are not in horror movies. There is the iconic scene in Marathon Man 1976. It's a thriller movie that features Laurence Olivier as a Nazi dentist, and it has a scene of him extensively dental torturing Dustin Hoffman's character in order to get answers out of him. Some drilling into teeth, no anesthetic in this establishment. Old Boy 2003 by Park Chan-wook is also a thriller movie, and it features more dental extraction torture where a character pulls out another character's front teeth with a hammer, like specifically like the little spikies on the back of the hammer, just Those are not otherwise scary movies, but those scenes specifically are very harrowing. The dentist movies are pretty much the mothership for dental grossness. Brian Usna and Stuart Gordon, who worked on the Reanimator movies, my beloveds, they also worked on The Dentist. They're just straight up slasher movies where the slasher in question is an evil dentist, plenty of teeth getting yoinked out, the inherent dread that you feel when seeing big crazy dental contraptions and getting them shoved in your mouth without knowing what they really are. There's even some tongue stuff for good measure. There's some hallucination type sequences that the dentist himself has of people's teeth being super rotten, which is also like kind of rough. The Saw franchise obviously features people pulling their teeth out. It's like it's a scenario just made up for a Saw movie. Saw 3D features a trap where there's a door with a combination lock, and the guy trapped in it, the only way to find said combination is it's written on the back of his teeth, so he has to pull them out with pliers in order to read it. Dogtooth 2009 is a Greek horror movie about a family who keep their kids completely sheltered, completely cut off from the outside world. It's less about teeth per se than you would think from the title. But yeah, the parents tell their very sheltered children that they are allowed to escape, they're allowed to go do whatever they want in this world on the day they lose a dog tooth, with a canine tooth, which those don't fall out. So this is a big spoiler for Dogtooth, just so you know. But right at the end, there is a scene where one of the daughters is so desperate, she takes a hammer to her canine tooth and knocks it out. Spot number 8 is called It's Not Funny Anymore, guys. This is where we get into the territory of I will actively be closing my eyes or dissociating through a good portion of these movies. This spot goes to things under the skin. So this is any horror scene where there is something stuck under a character's skin. And 9 times out of 10 they're trying to get the thing out of the skin, or it starts coming out by itself. I would just clarify, this is not like in the body. This is not every David Cronenberg movie ever. It's specifically in the skin. It's got to be in between the skin and the bone, you know. Funnily enough, I struggled so much to find examples of this. In my mind it was such a gross out horror staple, but I couldn't find too many specifics of what I was thinking of. The one I do mostly think of though is Richard Shepard's The Perfection. There's a scene in it where Logan Browning's character is really sick, which, as you already know, I'm already getting scared. She is seeing bugs under her skin. I won't spoil any sort of the context around that or anything that comes out later around that, but she does take a meat cleaver to the arm that she thinks has the bugs in. While I was writing for this, my girlfriend actually reminded me of the scene from Late Night with the Devil. We're both super huge fans of that movie, and there's a scene in it where a character is hypnotized and hallucinates a bunch of worms coming out from under his skin. Control Freak is a film I stumbled across randomly recently and was very pleasantly surprised by, and it's about this diva who cannot stop scratching this one patch on the back of her head, and there's lots of skin, burrowy, buggy, skinny goodness there. The Thaw 2009 is a movie where a prehistoric parasite that was frozen in an ice cap is freed when said ice cap melts, and that has lots of bugs burrowing under skin and trying to get bugs out from skin. I realize now these are all about bugs under the skin, but I'm telling you it is specifically the skin that's the issue. It could be anything. It could be anything in that skin. Until Dawn, I saw it in cinemas just recently. Didn't think it was good, but there was a little bug in skin moment there. One of the characters gets a like little wormy thing in her face that the other characters are not quick enough in pulling out, so it goes up into her eye. For a non-bug one, Coralie Fajar's The Substance. Obviously that is all about flesh and warping, splitting skin. But one of the yuckiest parts is where Margaret Qualley has a big old lump in the skin on her stomach, which she pulls out through her belly button. It turns out what was stuck in there is a chicken drumstick, which is Demi Moore, with whom Margaret Qualley's character shares half a conscious, has been binge eating, so that's a reference to that. Spot number 9 is no longer complaining, just sat in horrified silence. And this one goes to something in the throat. This kind of extends to swallowing or being made to swallow, like obstructive objects, because all of that kind of stuff just makes me feel like I'm choking. I am someone who manages to choke on air all the time, so this is very visceral. One that comes to mind is The Ring, the 2002 remake. Pretty iconic scene. Naomi Watts' character has a dream where she starts choking and gagging while she's on the phone, which is already pretty tough to watch, but as she's choking more and more, she finds in her throat a big, long, stringy piece of black hair, magician style. The feeling of hair in your throat in any capacity is gross, let alone this amount of it. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the Andre Ovredal movie, features a scene where a teenage boy is transformed into a scarecrow, a big part of which is hay? Is that what scarecrows are stuffed with? There's hay coming up and out through this guy's throat. It's sprouting in there as part of his scarecrowification, and obviously he is gagging like crazy on it, and I can just imagine how badly that scratches and hurts. Similar scratchy throat horror is found in the Apple TV series The Servant. I really like the first season of this show, but it does fall off in my opinion. The main plot of it is when this couple hires a live-in nanny. Really weird things kind of start happening around the house and in their lives as soon as she comes to stay with them. The mystery is she's kind of implied like a witchy, spooky diva. One of those strange things is when the nanny has been beefing with the husband of the couple, Sean. He starts finding these tiny little wood splinters everywhere, including one that is lodged in the back of his throat that he finds after coughing it up. Lastly, The Possession 2012 has a scene where one of the symptoms of said possession is when the little girl who was possessed is looking at her throat. She's brushing her teeth, she's got a little flashlight in her mouth. She sees fingers coming up her throat. Spot 10. This category is my entire body is slightly cold. And this one goes to psychological torture. Horror movies and books and such where a character is gaslit or made to feel crazy or just like has their control and grasp on everything around them just completely destroyed by another person. It's so harrowing to watch because you are just watching helplessly as this person gets like just beaten down beyond belief, and it also makes you feel a little crazy as well. My favorite psychological torture movie, both in terms of how scary I find it and how much I love it, is Michael Haneke's Funny Games, both the 1997 and 2007 versions, because they are very much two sides of the same coin. Both movies are about these two strapping young lads, Paul and Peter, who take families hostage in their own holiday homes and play funny games with them. We meet them when they're torturing this one specific family whose house they get into by knocking on the door, asking to borrow some eggs, but then routinely dropping the eggs and saying, "Oh, sorry, can I borrow some more?" Dropping those eggs, "Can I borrow some more?" until like the mother who they're doing this to is super freaked out. This introduces the theme straight away of like manners and how because the mother, Anna, feels too impolite and awkward to like tell them to go away, even though it's obvious they're fucking with her and just getting rid of all her eggs for fun. It leads to her and her family's end eventually. Some of the funny games in question are the boys kill the family's dog and make Anna play this like hot and cold finding game to try and locate where the dog's corpse is. Also stripping, putting pillows over the family members' heads. They place bets on the family and make them choose whether they want certain characters to die quick or slow. There's a part right at the end where the parents think they're finally free from this torture, and they're finally out of the house, only to get scooped right back up by Paul and Peter again. There's obviously some very confronting like physical violence from the boys towards the family, but the main like squirmy, hard to watch part of it is just the relentless psychological abuse and the way they just break these people down. Speak No Evil is another film that deals with like the idea of manners, and the idea that you are more vulnerable to like psychological torture when you are trying to be super polite and you don't want to tell anyone no. I'm only talking about the original here because the American reboot was so unnecessary and so terrible. The menacing behavior starts off like pretty subtle here. It's where this Dutch family invites their friends, this Danish family, to come stay with them in their house, and they make them just increasingly uncomfortable with just little things like passive aggression, being really overtly sexual with each other in front of their friends, really touchy-feely, blasting super loud music, walking in on their guests in the shower. It all comes to a head when the Dutch couple let the Danish couple's daughter sleep in bed with them while at night, because she was scared of having a bad dream, while they were fully naked. And even at that point, they still managed to gaslight, girl boss, gatekeep their way to making the Danish couple think that they did nothing wrong, that, you know, they're being rude by calling it out. Another all-time fave is Misery, which I love the movie, but the book has got to take the cake for psychological torture. Quite literally the cake. My beautiful girl. My beautiful girlfriend right here. It's about a woman, Annie, who just so happens to find her favorite author of all time injured in a car wreck, and she takes him into her home to nurse him back to health. And yeah, as it turns out, she is Paul, the writer's biggest fan, and she does some pretty batshit things to him. Her cruelty towards Paul is obviously made so much worse by the fact he is immobilized. He can't get away. There's also like a blizzard going on, so and she kind of lives in the middle of nowhere, so there is no hope for him getting out of there. There is a scene in the novel that I think about daily, where Annie is mopping up some soup that she spilled by just throwing a bowl of soup at the wall. Classic Annie. And as like a kind of punishment to Paul, she makes him drink from the mop bucket of like dirty floor soup juice. She also cuts his thumb off and serves him a cake with the thumb on top. One moment she's fawning over Paul and tending to him gently, and the next she's karate chopping his already broken legs and literally cutting his feet off. Perfect Blue by Satoshi Kon is a 1997 animated movie. It's about a former J-pop idol who has a stalker, and within that she completely just drowns in paranoia and loses her sense of reality. Major spoiler for The Lodge 2019, if that's something you want to watch. I don't know why I said it like that. I love The Lodge. I'm a big Lodge head. That is where a character with a history of trauma and mental illness basically just has her meds taken away, is put in the middle of nowhere, and just gaslit until she is like a husk of a human being. The perpetrators of the psychological torture in that are children, so it makes it kind of a weird one, a very icky film. I love it. The Rule of Jenny Penn is a 2024 horror film that I just saw and absolutely fell in love with. It's basically Funny Games but set in a nursing home. John Lithgow plays this absolutely sadistic bully in a nursing home that just screws with his fellow patients by going around yanking on their catheters and sexually assaulting them and making them lick his little puppet. It's so especially tough to watch when just already being elderly and being in a home is so vulnerable and confusing and frightening. And nursing homes are so shittily run that at no point do you ever feel like anyone is gonna intervene, anyone is gonna help John Lithgow's victims. The victims of John Lithgow, the guy, I guess. Number 11. This category is I may well have a nightmare after watching this. So this spot goes to Claustrophobia. So movies or specific scenes that are set in very tight spaces. There is a level of realism to these scenes and situations that adds like an extra level of nausea when watching them. True stories like that of the Nutty Putty Cave incident where John Jones passed away because he got like crunched up, stuck in a really tight spot while caving. Those true stories really affect me. So extra horror movie elevated depictions are bound to just ruin my day. There are plenty of cave movies and I hate them all. I saw Sanctum 2011 when I was maybe 10 and it troubled me deeply. Same can be said about The Descent 2005. Obviously that last one, The Descent, is about a group of cavers who encounter like little monstery beasts in the cave that they're stuck in, but honestly just the cave that they're stuck in is the main villain to me. Even before any of the supernatural stuff was introduced, just the setup was so scary to me. I could have done with just that. The Suicide Bid segment of VHS 99, directed by Johan Roberts, that features a character who spends the night buried alive in a coffin as a pledge to join a sorority. There's also a storm going on, meaning that the coffin gets half flooded at one point, and again supernatural elements are introduced, but like just that premise alone is so horrifying. My personal favorite that I also saw really young is The Borderlands. Already talked about her a little bit. Big spoiler incoming if you want to watch it, which I heavily recommend you do. But it ends with the two main characters who have been investigating paranormal occurrences at this church. It ends with them going underground into the basement of said church, which leads to a bunch of underground tunnels. As they're running around down there looking for another member of their team, they get lost, they get stuck down there, and they realize the tunnel walls around them are getting tighter and tighter and tighter until they are literally squeezed into a tiny little tube, and just when it can't get worse, the walls around them start excreting like this acidic substance that starts burning them. It's one of the most like grim ends for lead characters that I've ever witnessed. Spot number 12, we on the penultimate spot. Yippee! This spot is called Would Be Actively Worried About Watching This Beforehand. Usually if I spot elements of this in a movie description when I'm like clicking on it to go watch it, my stomach will drop and I will become very afraid, and usually for that reason very intrigued. And yeah, this spot goes to forced surgery. Any surgery at all in films is pretty horrifying to me. I'm looking at you, Awake 2007 movie where guy is awake during heart transplant. But the idea in particular of people getting like surgically fucked up when they very much do not want that and they cannot consent, they cannot get away, is what I'm talking about here. The one everyone will think of here is Tusk 2014. I was too scared to watch this movie or even look at images from this movie, look at images of that goddamn walrus for years. Anyone who knows me will tell you. It's where Justin Long gets kidnapped by an eccentric ex-sailor in Canada, and he gets surgically experimented on, but it's okay because he's a podcaster. No, he genuinely is an asshole. But yeah, the guy who kidnaps him has this fascination with walruses from when he was a sailor, and he wants to make Justin Long into his perfect walrus boy. Kind of rearranges body parts and uses bits and pieces of his flesh and his bones and stuff to make a walrus skin suit to sew him into. He does it kind of little by little. So first he will chop his legs off, paralyze him, you know, give him a little time to wonder like, what is this guy doing to me? Before going full walrus, sewing him into his suit, making him live in the water, making him eat raw fish and make walrus sounds. It's both the surgical aspects of this movie and also like the psychological ones, you know, the psychological transformation that Long's character undergoes, that is so harrowing, you know, where he fully thinks he is a walrus and behaves like a walrus by the end of it. Sorry to Bother You is one of my all-time favorite movies. It is probably my favorite movie of the 2010s, and it doesn't contain like a physical surgery operation per se, but Armie Hammer is transforming people into horse creatures by giving them evil transformation coke. Some of those people knowing and some of them very much not knowing. Likely thing for Armie Hammer to do. There's also American Mary 2012, which is about a med student played by Catherine Isabel, who starts doing sort of extreme body mods, extreme plastic surgery for extra cash on the side. The kinds of surgery she performs at first are completely consensual but are kind of crazy. For example, she like sutures a girl's vulva shut and also removes her nipples so she can be completely just like a doll. Alas, the extra nasty stuff gets underway when she kidnaps her old professor who drugged and assaulted her. As revenge, she kidnaps him and starts using him as like her little practice model for her body modification surgeries. So she experiments on him with amputation. She's just cutting random bits of him off, splitting his tongue, sewing his mouth shut, just like messing around with his genitals. Low-key he deserved. Excision is a film about a girl who is like obsessed and fascinated by surgery, so there is a good bit of grossness in that. Eyes Without a Face 1960, or Les Yeux Sans Visage, is kind of like the CEO of surgical horror. It's about a plastic surgeon father who is on a grisly mission to reconstruct his daughter's face after she was disfigured in a car crash. He does so by forcefully removing random other patients' faces so that he can try and graft them onto his daughter, none of which really go to plan. Honestly, I'm about to do it, guys. I'm about to mention a piece of media that I absolutely despise. This is not a recommendation, but it is a relevant moment, a relevant scene. It's American Horror Stories season 2 episode 6. It's about an insecure older lady who gets kind of mysterious plastic surgery done to make her beautiful and look young again. But it turns out when she takes her bandages off that her surgeon has actually given her a pig snout and I think like little pig trotters as well, because the surgeon is also part of like a pig cult thing. I don't claim to like this terrible show, but I will give it to them. The concept for that is pretty scary. Okay, honorable mention before I get to the primo top spot, unlucky number 13. My honorable mention goes to literally anything to do with veins. Literally just saying the words vein just now has upset me and ruined my night. The only reason it's not top spot or like on the list at all is because I literally just don't want to go look up clips of veins. Finally, we're here. Top spot number 13. This spot is aptly titled Genuine Deep Existential Dread, a Legitimate Struggle to Sit Through. And it goes to... There's no neat title for this, but it goes to sensory overload scenes, or scenes of extreme chaos. Scenes where everyone and everything is out of control, usually very, very loud and very bright. Usually lots of people squeezed into one space. Just anything that captures the feeling, just captures how I feel when I step onto public transport for 2 seconds. So yeah, sensory overload horror. I didn't say her name, but she popped into mind, didn't she? Mother, the 2017 Darren Aronofsky movie. It is a genuine nightmare to watch, and I stick by the fact I will never watch it again. I have no desire to do that. It's all a metaphor for basically historically how we've treated the planet like shit, and there's also some like kind of biblical creation myth type stuff thrown in. So Jennifer Lawrence's character, Mother, represents the earth, her husband represents God, Cain and Abel show up at one point, Adam and Eve, and yeah, this movie is a 2-hour-long nervous breakdown. As per the earth metaphor, as time goes on, more and more uninvited guests just kind of keep like showing up and kind of muscling their way into Mother's life and her house. It starts off with just like a couple of rude bastards just barging in, but it escalates until it's hundreds of thousands. The guests are rude and violent, and they break things and just completely trash the house. And the God character does not seem to care at all about how incredibly stressed and upset this is making Mother, who was also heavily pregnant throughout this movie. At one point, while all the guests are popping off, the house is surrounded, there's people climbing up the walls, Mother actually goes into labor, and because they are wall-to-wall rowdy guests, she just has to go into labor in the middle of this chaos at home. And then once she goes through that, she manages to push out that baby. All the guests get so excited that the baby is here, they all start passing the baby around to each other, and they're being way too rough, even though Mother is saying, like, please stop, be careful, I just popped out this child. Yeah, they're passing it around just so candidly that the baby instantly dies. This movie, that exact scene as well, has formed the basis of my nightmares for years. Except in my nightmares, that instead of my baby, it's always my cat. Speaking of Darren Aronofsky, that cruel man, Requiem for a Dream is also similarly day ruining. I mean, the movie generally is just about things going so dramatically terribly wrong for just ordinary people until there's literally nothing good left in their lives, but it's the end sequence specifically that I'm talking about where it really taps into the overwhelmingness. So over the course of the film, the character of Sarah, she's kind of an older lady, she has like grown-up kids, she has been prescribed amphetamines to lose weight, because she just recently found out she's gonna star on her favorite game show, so she's been trying to lose weight to wear this one specific dress. She gets addicted to the amphetamines and keeps like upping her dose and stuff without, you know, checking with a doctor, and so she ends up developing psychosis from it. The end sequence shows her at her kind of lowest ebb. She is hallucinating like crazy. For example, seeing her fridge come to life and start chasing her, and imagining she's on the game show being pointed and laughed at by the whole crowd. The stress of it all ramps up even worse when Sarah is taken into psychiatric care and she is force-fed meds and given like just horrible invasive like electroshock therapies until she is just once again a husk. So many husks in these movies. In keeping with just the merciless pain and suffering of this movie, this scene, it just does not hold back. It does not stop. Things just keep getting louder and busier and scarier and worse. The Babadook is a 2014 horror movie where the main horror doesn't focus on like overwhelming your senses. It's more of a classic sort of paranormal grief allegory situation, but it does have plenty of scenes where the little boy character in the movie, Sam, he's having mentee B after mentee B, and we are just watching his exhausted mother just completely unable to calm him down or cope with it. That, you know, that really adds to, I think, the trickiness of watching The Babadook. Soft and Quiet is a truly rancid, nasty little film about these white supremacists who accidentally kill two Asian women. Accidentally in that they only meant to break into their home and just kind of torture them for a while, but they ended up getting carried away and accidentally killed them. It's filmed in that style where like it's meant to all look like one take, so we are chronologically following them throughout this incredibly chaotic night. There is the sensory overload of their just merciless, loud, aggressive, slur-filled attack on these women, followed by the overload of them all running around, screaming their heads off, freaking out over the fact they've accidentally killed them and trying to sort that out amongst themselves. And finally, my favorite movie on this entire list is Beau is Afraid. This is truly the prime example of what I am getting at. Beau is Afraid is entirely setting out to overwhelm its audience from the word go. The entire thing from start to finish, and it's 3 hours by the way, is a non-stop vomit-inducing frenzy. The character of Beau is simply a punching bag, and the fucking world he lives in is Muhammad Ali. He's a character whose narcissistic mother dies supposedly when he's meant to be on the way to going to see her, but everything from there just kind of spirals out of control to nightmarish proportions. My personal most horrific stuff comes from the beginning of this movie. Beau accidentally sleeps until 3 p.m. on the day of his flight. His luggage and keys get stolen, and his mum is obviously upset with him over the phone before literally dying. This just exemplifies the mundane anxiety ramped up to 1,000 that we see in Ari Aster's movie. And that alone is truly so much to watch. Beau lives in this cartoonishly crime-filled city where people are just getting slaughtered in the street every 3 seconds. And his apartment gets broken into and overtaken by a bunch of randoms while he's locked out. He can just see his own apartment getting completely catastrophically trashed and ripped up and destroyed while he is locked outside of it. And things just keep getting worse. They keep getting worse, guys. Beau is stabbed, stalked, chased, berated. His entire being is crushed again and again for us to enjoy. Everyone who takes him in and tries to help him along his odyssey he goes on throughout the film just ends up screwing him over and getting him even more hurt. And it's all so much and it's very surreal. So that is it. Those are my 13 scariest horror tropes. So if you see a film with one of these in them, don't recommend it to me. Yeah, if you watch this all the way to the end, thank you. Perhaps you'll stay so locked into your Catzilla grind that you will subscribe. You want to subscribe so bad. You want to subscribe. You are lifting out of your seat and grabbing the remote and pressing bloody subscribe. What are you guys watching? What are you reading? I have just started reading Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and while I was doing my makeup just now I was watching The Abominable Dr. Phibes, both of which are fantastic so far. So let me know what's the vibe, guys. Bye!